Hi, welcome to Nona's Here. I'm Nona. This video is about my journey with sleep apnea and getting an Inspire implantation. This is not medical advice. I am not a doctor. I am not a medical person. This is just my journey as an average person who is going to have very shortly an Inspire implanted. So this is how it happened. Short background. About 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. Now I'm going to assume for purposes of this video that either you have sleep apnea or someone you know has sleep apnea. So I talked to my doctor about my symptoms. What started that was I was having a small surgery done, and the anesthesiologist suggested that I look into having a sleep apnea study done because it appeared that my throat was very small, collapsed, and that perhaps I had sleep apnea. At the time, I really didn't think too much about it. But then my son, as a young adult, told me that when I was sleeping, it sounded like I woke up and was gasping for air. Now, I was named as the champion snorer in our family. In fact, when our kids were little, they used to tell Santa Claus not to worry if he came down the chimney and he heard a loud noise. It was just their mom snoring. Okay, so my doctor referred me to have a home sleep study done. And I did that. It was very simple, totally painless. And then I was referred to a specialist. I guess it was an ENT, ear, nose, and throat doctor. And when I went to meet her, she told me, oh, you've been put on the fast track. Why's that? And I said, I don't know. So she looked at the report and she said, yeah, you definitely have sleep apnea. I'm going to refer you to a respiratory therapist to get a CPAP machine. So I said, okay. So I went to see the respiratory therapist, and the respiratory therapist showed me how to use the CPAP machine. Very, very simple, how to put it together, how to clean it, and all that. And so I started out with the nasal clouds. So I went back a month later, and the respiratory therapist wasn't happy with my numbers from the report. So he suggested that I go to what I call the full jet pilot fighter mask. And that's the mask that goes over your nose and your mouth. So I did that. And I wore that mask for about 5 years. And then, about a year and a half ago, we had to move our bedroom furniture around due to some damage from Hurricane Sally. And so the hose was getting in the way. So I decided to go back to the nasal clouds. And then I started using the CPAP machine less frequently and less frequently. Now, I'll tell you, the earlier CPAP machines used to be extremely noisy, from what I understand, so much so that sleeping partners used to sleep in a different bedroom. That is not so with the current new CPAP machines. They're virtually silent. Okay, so I was using it less and less, but then my husband, Grumpy Grandpa, saw on TV an advertisement about Inspire. Well, I'd never heard of it, so I watched TV, and sure enough, I saw this thing about Inspire, which is supposed to be in your body, in your shoulder, and you use a remote, and when you're ready to go to bed, you use the remote and you turn it on, and it acts like your CPAP machine, but no mask, no hose, no machine by your bed that you have to clean, yada, yada, yada. I thought, man, that is for me if I could have that. So I wrote down the number and I called, and the lady asked me 4 questions. And the first question was, how old was I? Well, I'll be 71 next month, but that's a secret between me and you. And then she asked me how tall I was, 5'6", and how much I weighed, and I'm not telling. But anyway, she checked some kind of chart, and obviously you have to have in a range for your body BMI, body metabolism. No, that's not it. Anyway, you have to have a certain BMI. So she told me, oh yeah, that's good, you're in the right range. So then she asked me, the fourth question is, what is your zip code? So I told her we live in Pensacola, Florida. You can see the water out there. That is the Intercoastal Waterway. So she gave me the name and number of an Inspire certified doctor who would do an Inspire implant. So I immediately called the number and got the office. And the office told me that the doctor was at this time very busy. However, they had a brand new doctor who was Inspire certified, who was joining the practice the very next week. Would I be interested in seeing him? And I said, absolutely, that sounds great. So I get an appointment for the very next week. Now I have to warn you, my journey went quickly because I got this new doctor. So your journey, if you're interested, may not go as quickly because if your doctor is backed up or very, very busy, then it may take longer. So just take note of that. So I get an appointment to go see this new doctor the next week, and actually it's his first day in the office. He's very nice, he's very young, he's Inspire certified, he takes a long time. We go over my history. I do not have any heart issues, I don't have any diabetes, I'm not overweight, not that it wouldn't hurt me to lose 8 or 10 pounds, but I'm not overweight, so I don't have any, I am a breast cancer survivor, but not an issue. That was almost 7 years ago, so that's not an issue. I'm in really good health, so okay. So, he explains basically what the Inspire implant involves. So the next step is I have to have another home study done because, of course, my home study was done 6-7 years ago, and that doesn't count. And of course, we have to have insurance approve it. Well, I'm old enough to, of course, to be on Medicare. So they have to check with Medicare, and this is Medicare approved surgery. So hold on just a minute. Okay, I had to cough. So we have a Medicare complete plan plus TRICARE for life because my husband's retired military. So they call me back in a couple days and tell me that yes, my insurance has approved it and I can come in the next day and pick up the home study kit. Now, my doctor's office is in Foley, Alabama, and we're in Pensacola, but that's only about a 40-45 minute drive because Pensacola is right on the Florida-Alabama state line. So we drive over to Foley and we get the little home sleep study kit, and we come home and there's directions with pictures and there's a videotape, and I don't need to watch the videotape because I get the directions. And that night before I go to bed, and I'll insert a picture here, there's a little heart-shaped icon, like with a sticky that you stick on your chest and attach it with a piece of tape, and it has some wires, and it goes to the wristwatch, which has a wide band, and it's adjustable, so it doesn't matter how big your wrist is. And then there is a finger dinghy that you put on your finger, rubber thing, not a clip-on thing like they use in the hospital, just a little rubber thing, and it's got wires that go to the wristwatch. And the wires are plenty long enough that you can move around and everything. And then this wristwatch that you put on, and right when you're ready to go to bed, and then you hit tap the face of the wristwatch and it gives you a green check mark that you're good to go. So I do all that and I go to sleep. And so then, of course, do you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, which some of us have to do. So yes, I did. And no problem. You just get up and go and come back to bed. Now they tell you not to get it wet, but of course I'm not going to take a shower in the middle of the night, so that's not a problem. And I'm sure it showed on the report that I interrupted the report, but no problem. So get up in the morning, tap the little face of the wristwatch, put it all back in the box, take it back to the doctor's office. So in a couple days, the doctor calls me back. I guess they just take out a chip and wave their magic wand and a report prints out and the doctor reads the report. So the doctor called me back and he said, yes, you definitely have sleep apnea. And so he tells me that, you know, in the report, they get this score. And I remember in the first sleep study, there was a score. And she had told me that I was fast-tracked. And I had told the doctor that they had put me on the, I didn't call it fast-track because I didn't remember that was the name, that I was on the get ready quick track. So anyway, he said, yeah, you were fast-tracked. To tell you the truth, I kind of didn't believe you. And I said, you didn't believe me? Why wouldn't you believe me? He said, because you don't really present as the type of patient that I see that is fast-tracked. He said, you have no health issues and you're not overweight. And he said, so you're not like the typical patient we see with heart issues or diabetes or high blood pressure. I have no high blood pressure. People envy my blood pressure. So he said, so I kind of didn't really think you would be fast-tracked, but he said, yeah, you are. So the numbers on the score, which you'd have to talk to your doctor about what they mean, because there's 3 kinds of numbers that go into the score. But 0 to 5 means no apnea or very mild. And 5 to 15 means mild. And 15 to 30 means moderate. And 15 to 30 means moderate. And anything above 30 means serious. And my number was 63. So he said, you've got sleep apnea, and we've got to see if you are a candidate for Inspire. And he said, so from now on, I'll believe whatever you say. I said, okay, good. So the next thing to do is to go in for a day procedure, which I'm going to try and pronounce what it's called, and I probably won't say it right, but it's otolaryngological examination, which is where the doctor goes into the nasal cavity and down your throat to see if your throat and tongue are synchronizing properly, that an Inspire would work. So I did that like 2.5, 3 weeks later. And it's done under a very light anesthesia called Prosapel. I can't say that right either, but it's known as the Michael Jackson anesthetic. So the anesthesiologist comes in and tells me that's the anesthetic they're going to use, and everyone calls it the Michael Jackson anesthetic because that's the one he used in order to get sleep. And the reason why he died is because the doctor left him alone, but she assured me that they weren't going to leave me alone and I wasn't going to die. So, okay, that was good. Also, I'm real sensitive to anesthesia, so I tend to get very nauseated afterwards. But she said I probably wouldn't with this one because it's very light, but they make sure that they gave me something for anti-nausea. So, okay, great. So I go into the OR, and the doctor shows me, and it's a long, thin tube with like a little tiny, tiny light bulb at the end, and that's the camera. So they spray stuff in my mouth to make it dry, which it was already dry. And then he sprays stuff up each one of my nostrils to make it dry. He said that was so that he could see everything. And then they start the anesthesia, the light anesthesia, and I just fall asleep. And so then, I don't know how long, he said it takes about 8.5 to 10 minutes to do the exam. And I just wake up, sort of like you wake up from a nap, not like you wake up from general anesthesia, just like you wake up from a nap. And I feel just fine. And so probably about 45 minutes to an hour later, I get released. And I don't even have to get into a hospital gown. They said to wear loose clothing, which I did. And so I just wore my loose house dress. And, the only thing I had to have was that, good looking hair net you have to wear into the OR. And so that was it. And so we came home and we stopped and I got a cup of coffee, which I was dying for because I'm a real coffee drinker. And I felt just fine. And the doctor said, go home and rest. Yeah, that's going to happen. And don't make any major decisions. I said, like sign divorce papers from Grumpy Grandpa. And he said, that's right. So we got home and I felt just fine. I felt rested, no problem. Of course, I hadn't had anything to eat since midnight. And so I was a little hungry, so I think I had some oatmeal or something. I wasn't famished. Mostly I wanted coffee. And so I did some laundry and I cleaned the kitchen. And then that afternoon I did take a nap because we had to be at the place at 6:30, 6 o'clock. And that meant we had to leave home around 4:30. So because the surgery place was further than the doctor's office. So I was fine. So then a week later, we went in to see the doctor for follow-up, and I am an excellent candidate for the implant. So we went over the basics of the surgery, and there are always risks to a surgery, risk of being under a general anesthetic. The surgery takes about 2.5 hours, and there's always a risk of infection, and there's some being uncomfortable afterwards, although it's not supposed to be terrible. And I've had bilateral total knee replacements, and that's supposed to be the most painful surgery there is. And I had both knees done on the same day, so I think I should be okay. And I wouldn't recommend that, by the way. But anyway, I think I'll be fine. And he said he'd give me something if I have discomfort more than what I need over the counter. And so till we got home from that visit, I had a text message from his surgery scheduler that in 2 weeks, which will be next week, that my surgery is scheduled. So I'm really excited and looking forward to it. Now, am I nervous? Yeah, a little bit, because it's surgery. But I really want to have this done and get rid of the CPAP machine, which I'm not using anyway, and have this done so that I can get some good rest, and it's also better for my health to have it. Now, there will be 2 incisions. This is what I understand. There will be 2 incisions, one on my right shoulder where the actual Inspire device goes, and one under my chin, which will be for the device that will control my tongue. There will be wires that go from the implant to under my tongue, and then there will be a wire that goes from the device to underneath my ribs that will control my lungs. Now, there usually is 3 incisions: Inspire, tongue, and the ribs. But my doctor studied in a facility where they were doing the testing of the 2 incision method, where there's no incision along the side. Like they did for the vaccine studies before the FDA approved it. Well, he was involved in the study of the 2 incision that they take the wire from the device and there must be something on the end of the wire that sends the message to the lungs to breathe without doing the incision, which is really great because it reduces the time in surgery, which is excellent. And that was the incision that most people complained about being uncomfortable post-op. So I won't have an incision there because he'll do that without an incision, which I don't know how, and I'm not asking a lot of questions about it because I really don't want a lot of details. I just know I'll have an incision here and an incision here. This is supposed to be pretty swollen afterwards, and that's all I know. And my tongue will be sore. And I'm sure my shoulder will be sore too. The stitches will be, how do you say it? They'll dissolvable. Okay, so there won't be like staples or I have to go and have stitches taken out. It'll be day surgery. I'll come home the same day. I don't think, the only question I have for him that I haven't asked yet is what can I expect when I wake up? Because I want to know, he told me my tongue will be sore. Will I be able to sip through a straw? And will I have ice under my chin? And I read somewhere, although I've tried really hard not to look a lot on the internet, although there's not that much, which is why I'm doing this, will my arm be in a sling? But that may only be if you have the third incision. I don't know, but that's a question I want to ask him before I go to sleep. I always ask the anesthesiologist, CRNA, the certified registered nurse anesthesiologist, or the doctor anesthesiologist, to please tell me when they're going to start to give me the medicine to put me to sleep, because I don't like to wake up not remembering when I went to sleep. The worst part of it for me is the having the IV put in. I am a big sissy about needles, and the IV is at the top of the list. So I have to really concentrate on breathing and remaining calm, because that's the worst part for me. Once that's in, I'm good to go. I do usually get nauseated after anesthesia, and they know that. So they give me anti-nausea medicine and put a thing behind my ear like you wear when you go on a cruise so you don't get motion sickness. And they've done that before. I've still gotten sick, but hopefully this time I won't. And that's about it. So I'll do a follow-up after my surgery, and I am presentable on a video. If you have any questions, please comment down below. But like I said, I am not medical. This is not medical advice. I am just telling you about my journey of having an Inspire implanted. This is just what's happening. Also, remember, because my doctor was new in the practice, my journey is probably happening a little faster than yours may. So have patience and ask me any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks so much. Again, I'm Nona, and this is Nona's Here. Thanks for watching.